Well, hello everybody. So today we're going to be talking about making a video game in Blender. And it occurred to me, if you've ever heard of Big Rigs Over-the-Road Racing, it is one of the worst programming disasters to ever hit store shelves. It is a horrible game. It's not even really a game, it's just the empty shell of what could have been a game. If you want to see how bad it was, just watch the Angry Video Game Nerd's video about it.
Look at this. You can go almost at a 90-degree slope. In fact, the slopes seem to make you go even faster. Yes, the truck is giving gravity the middle finger and actually accelerating up the hill. Nothing inhibits your control. You can slow down to a dead stop and then go backwards as you please. The truck just hangs out wherever it wants. It clings to the mountains like Spider-Man. That didn't happen. Oh, there it is!
You get the idea, though, but I'd heavily recommend looking at the Angry Video Game Nerd's videos, because he's pretty awesome, but he's pretty big, so you probably already heard of him. Now, it occurred to me, we could make a better game than Big Rigs Over-the-Road Trucking, even if we don't have any experience, because it's a very low bar to pass. So let's try to make a better game than Big Rigs Over-the-Road Trucking. Okay, so here's my default screen. I always have it set at on Blender. We'll use this brick as my truck for now. But, oh wait, I almost forgot. Turn on the screencast keys. So now you can see what I do. So I can hit G, and it shows down there. Control Z to undo, and it shows. Okay, so we're going to add a plane. Oh, whoops. Whatever objects you put into the world come in wherever you have your marker, and I accidentally put the marker in the wrong area. Okay. Let's try that again. I have the marker back at 0, 0, 0. Add, mesh, plane. So now I have a solid plane there. Scale it by, let's say 40. I just typed 40, but you can also just press S and make it bigger like that. So now we have the beginnings of terrain, and we have our vehicle. Let's make this vehicle get affected by gravity, because that's one of the biggest things. So now we're going to go over to the physics. Oh, it's still in the render engine. You see, up here you can change the different engines. Like this one, if we have it in here, it's set up for making animations. If we have it in the game engine, Blender Game, it's set up for making video games. And the Cycle Render engine is just a different, but I'd say a much better way for making animations. But let's go to Blender Game Engine, and so it sets up and gives you all the features for making a video game. Now, right here we have this selected, and it gives us control of its physics detection. So if we hit P to play, it does nothing because it just sees it as a static object. Because right there you can see it's static. Let's make it a dynamic object. You can see it falls. But unfortunately, it doesn't fall all the way because it detects it as just a circle. It doesn't detect it as a brick. So we go to Collision Bounds, and we do a triangle mesh. So now, it only detects a collision whenever something hits one of the polygons that makes up the brick, not whenever it makes up like the circle around it. So now I set P. Okay, now it falls all the way down. I'm going to make this a little bit brighter. Okay, there we go. Gonna hit P, and it falls down. So now what we have to do is we have to make it to where it moves. To do that, we're going to want it to take in key commands. So we're going to go to the logic editor, Control up arrow to see it in big screen. we're going to bring in 4 key actuators, or sensors I mean. 4 keyboards. Then 4 ands. So this is basically a visual representation of programming, and then we'll have the motions. So over here we have the sensors. So if I hit W, so now in the game whenever I hit W it will, or you can have it to where it will not, or it'll do a program or whatever. So this is what it does. This generates a signal, and this does something with the signal. Like if you have it to where you can have it reversed, so that whenever this key wasn't pressed, it was turning this on, or if it was pressed, it was turning it on. So now, whenever we hit W, it will turn do a motion. Now I think it will be 0.2 in the X axis, because this is location, this is rotation, and then there's other stuff down here. But right now we're just going to work on location. We can always change it later. I believe that's the X axis. Hit P. Now when I hit W, it moves forward. Pretty awesome. So now let's make the other one S. I'm going to be using the WASD keys for the motions. So now we have the back. We'll make this minus 0.2. You minimize those. Actually, I'll minimize all these. So we got that working. Now we need the rotation. A, D, link these together. Oh, and you can also link them together like that to do stuff like if we had this, it would only turn on when we had A and D pressed down together. But we don't need that right now. That's just for other stuff. Like for instance, if you wanted to have a jump command in the game, you'd have one sensor to detect if you were touching the ground, and another sensor to detect if you were hitting the spacebar or whatever, because you don't want to jump in the middle of the air. That would mean that you could just basically fly. We'll go over here, and I believe we rotate on the Z-axis, so let's try 1. Hey, and it's in the right direction too. That's the A key, but it's a bit slow. So I'll turn that up to 2. See how that does. Seems about right. Then we'll make the opposite one for the right movement, minus 2. So now we have this. We can move it around and drive the cube, which we can always very easily put a truck into that model. Now the big thing is, though, we have to have the camera follow it. We'll hit 0 to go into camera mode. This is the camera. I'm going to edit it. We'll go back to properties. I'm going to change it because right now it's at a 4:3 aspect ratio. I want it at a widescreen, so I'm going to go 1280 by 720. I think that's it. So now it's a widescreen view. Whoops. Unfortunately, it's a very, it's still static. It's not moving with the brick, or the truck, in other words. Let's go back to the logic editor. Add an always sensor. So now it's not actually sensing anything, it's just always on. And then we use the camera feature. Now sometimes the camera feature can be a little bit buggy, and sometimes you can actually build a better camera setup just by another more complicated thing, but this is probably good enough for now. With the camera actuator, we have to make it follow an object, and we'll follow a cube since the brick is the cube. So now let's hit P. Unfortunately, it follows it at like its very center point. We want to make it go out a little bit. So 5. 8. So now the camera moves out by 5 and 8. Oh, and also let's remove the damping, because I think that will stop it from... Okay, yeah. You see, damping is... It tries to get the camera behind the object, but sometimes it can really mess it up, so I just put damping to 0. Otherwise, if you have it like here, it kind of rotates around the object, but it kind of rotates around the wrong way. So let's put that to 0. Then for the height, let's go 4. So now it puts the... I mean, these two set how far back from the object the camera is, and this one sets how high up the camera follows it. So now it's kind of looking down on it. So now the camera follows the cube, and we can go around places. And you can fall off the edge. It doesn't look quite right though, so I'm going to change how zoomed out it is. See, like with this, with the focal length, you can change how zoomed out it is. Because before, it didn't really look quite right. Don't know if that looks okay or not. 12 might be a bit. Let's go 16. Actually, you know what? We need some other things so we can see how much it's bending around the edge of the screen. Just add some cubes. And add a cylinder. I'd say 16 looks about right, actually. I'm pretty happy with this. And as you can see, unlike the game, we actually have physics detection. Oh. Well, maybe. You see, this is one issue we have with using the movement actuators for the motion. Because you see, right now, it's just, whenever we press forward, all it's doing is it's moving the block forward so many pixels every frame, but it's not taking into account that it's an actual object moving. So sometimes it can actually move it ahead in one frame so much that it just moves straight through something. That's why... Oh, it's select the brick again. Go to Logic Editor. That's why we have something called force, because it can detect a force. We'll put this to 0. Unfortunately, there's really no speed limit to it, but anything you do with force will not cause issues with the physics detection. Because it's actually detecting, it's keeping in mind that it's an actual object in motion, not that it's just moving forward at such a speed. Thing is, though, it's kind of since it doesn't have a maximum speed, it just kind of goes at whatever speed it can. We want to go over to something called servo control, or hey, character motion. I've never seen this before. Let's see if that does anything. Huh. I guess character motion is just the top part of simple motion. So let's go to servo control. I'll have to mess with character motion some more. It looks like they added that since I last was doing video games. So now X. Now it's a bit too slow. But it does have a speed limit, which is nice. One issue, though, we have with the servo control is like this. For some reason, if you don't have the settings right, whenever you press forward, it'll stop the object from falling down. Like this. Anytime I press forward, it will not fall down. That's because we have it like stopping the Z-axis or whatever. So we just click that, and that should fix it. Yep, that fixed it. Now we have to figure out how to make it go faster. Whoa. Whoa, okay. Here's something interesting. So when I press forward, it moves forward, and it can get stopped. But the reverse key that I'm using right now is still the just the location mover. So there's really no momentum, but if I hit forward, it actually has momentum, because I'm not pressing it right now, it's just slowly going off its own momentum. But actually, it's kind of interesting, you can have the two systems fight each other, so I'm going forward, running off my momentum, then going backwards. It's not going. It kind of messes up, because one, the force takes into account motion and momentum and physics detection, and the other one just moves the object. So I want to fix the other one to be that also. Servo control, -12. Oh, oops. And there we go. That's pretty awesome. And now I don't think we can possibly break into, go through something, because it has, it's taking into account the physics and the momentum. Now we have to work on the terrain, because, I mean, it's kind of interesting. We already have a game that's better in one aspect than Big Rigs Over-the-Road Trucking, because it detects things, because in Big Rigs, all you do is you just go through everything. Okay, so in this, I have the plane selected. Let's go into edit mode. Now I'm going to subdivide it by hitting W, subdivide. Actually, I'm going to scale that up a bit. So now what we can do is we could, so I'm going to go down into polygon select mode, because see right now you can select the individual vertices, but in polygon select mode you can select the polygons. So now what I can do is I could take that and raise it up. So now I can actually change the terrain on the object. Let's undo that though. Okay, that's flat. Let's go into sculpt mode. And with this one we can actually see the ground changing. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to sculpt it. Okay, that wasn't very good. There's a lot of fiddly little settings on here. Texture, stroke. Ah, curve. That might change how it works. Oh. Oh, that's odd. We have an X when I was just making one line. That's because evidently it's mirrored somewhere. Okay, symmetry. Okay, so we do not want it to mirror in the X-axis. So now if I make a line through there, you can see it made a little like dune right there. Let's add a mountain over here. Or not necessarily a mountain, but a big dune. It's not adding very much, so let's bring up the strength. And I'll make that a little less sharp. You know, I'm just gonna go crazy and put like 4. Whoa, there, okay. Now that's interesting. So you see what I've done is I've sculpted this hill. Let's come to oh no, actually let's go back to edit mode and give it a texture. So go to UV image editor. We'll hit U, project from view. So now we have this. Go back to properties. Let's go to the material tab. Let's add a new material. Then let's give it a texture in the image from movie. Open. I put all my stuff in Kojo. That's the folder. Don't really know why. Let's see. Okay, so here's some textures that I extracted from a video game called Final Fantasy XIV. Let's see if there's anything useful in here for a ground texture. Okay, so now we have that loaded. And we're stretching the texture over the map, or the 3D model. See? So now it's stretched over it. Also I say let's change the lighting a little bit. I changed it from a point light source to a sun. Let's try the game now. Oh my, okay. I gotta change the reflectivity of the sand or dirt or whatever. I believe that's the specular. Oh, yep, because see right over here you can see it goes in or goes away. Okay, that looks a lot better. I think I gotta fix the gravity a little bit. The gravity should be... should be somewhere over here. Oh, here it is, gravity. So let's go to 18. So now the gravity will be twice as much. That's a little bit better. Let's go 30. Because remember, this is going to be a really heavy, like, big truck. Let's try 40, just see how that looks. Whoa, okay, maybe not. That just goes right through. Well, maybe there is a limit to how heavy something can be. And now, I know what you're saying, probably, that this is just like big rigs, where it just lets you go anywhere. We can't have that. Like, if this wasn't part of the racing area, well, there's something simple that you would do. Let's add a plane. Let's rotate in the y-axis by 90 degrees. Okay, so now we have a plane. Let's make sure it's tall enough. Gonna stretch it up and stretch it down. Gonna move it over here. Now what we can do is we can move these. I'm basically making a wall. We can press E to extend it. So now we have this wall right here. Let's go into play mode and see if that's enough to stop us. Yep, that's enough to stop us. And what we do with that is we make it invisible. So now you can't see that there's a wall here. And you can't get up that cliff, because the regular truck couldn't get up that cliff. I do have to say though, I hate like hidden walls, so I wouldn't want to be using this too much, because if there's an area that you can't go, I'd want to actually see that like there's an actual brick wall or something there. But yeah, this is one way that you can fix physics detection, so you can stop areas like if you were in a, if you wanted it to only be like a single track where you couldn't really like explore anything. It's weird how it's bouncing. Maybe that's due to the gravity. Let's bring that back down to 20, see if that helps. That helps a bit, yeah. Well, I think that's pretty good for now. I think we should, next time, try to make an actual track instead of just this little, like, mountain area. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching. See ya!